For folks who are joining us, we will give people a minute to get into the webinar room, and then we will get started. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll just wait for the speed at which people are entering to slow down, and then I'm sure more people will join as I do my introduction. I will assume that more folks will join us in the next few minutes. So depending on where you're joining us from, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good very late evening for folks joining from Australia. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. My name is Chulalongkorn, and I'm a faculty member in Southeast Asian Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. This webinar is being sponsored by the Justice in Southeast Asia Lab, or the JC Lab, generously funded by the Henry Luce Foundation, and the Article 112 Project, generously funded by the Anonymous Fund at UW-Madison. Founded in 2021, the JC Lab fosters intensive exchange among faculty, graduate students, and practitioners, as well as public-facing events that aim to foster additional collaboration among these groups. The JC Lab also reflects the recognition that a growing number of MAs and PhDs in Southeast Asian studies are choosing to pursue professional careers outside the university, but more importantly, that there is a need for academic work and universities to be directly responsive to ongoing social justice crises in the region. Then founded in 2023, the Article 112 Project is concerned with its namesake, Article 112 of the Thai Criminal Code, which defines the crime and stipulates the punishment for lèse-majesté. Whoever defames, insults, or threatens the king, queen, heir apparent, or regent shall be punished with imprisonment of 3 to 15 years. Thailand has been a constitutional monarchy since the 24th of June, 1932, but the relationship of the monarchy to democracy has remained unclear, not least evidenced by the existence and use of this law. Over the past 20 years, the use and abuse of the law to suppress peaceful expression and silence discussion of crucial social and political questions in the Thai polity has risen at an alarming rate, with sentences reaching many decades. Many of you will be aware that the use of Article 112 to criminalize peaceful dissent has been on the rise since the 2006 coup, and that the number of cases has increased tremendously since the youth-led democracy movement in late 2020, with Thai Lawyers for Human Rights reporting that there are at least 293 people currently being prosecuted. Despite the urgency of this rise and the analytic questions it necessarily raises, scholarship has remained relatively spare, and restriction of freedom of expression in Thailand remains largely unknown outside the country. The Article 112 Project aims to respond to this lacuna by expanding scholarship and public engagement through teaching, translation of key documents, and through events such as this one. So to turn to today's event. Earlier this year, the Article 112 Project was able to make small grants to scholars studying Article 112. Over the past 2 days and then today, those scholars have shared short presentations on their projects. And so just to note, today is the final day. So before I introduce today's speakers, a note on process. After our speakers share their work, then we'll have time for discussion. We'll use the Q&A box for questions, and you can put your questions there whenever you have them. You don't have to wait until the end. So today's presentation is focused on prosecution and bail. And we are so happy to have our two presenters here with us today. So first we have Khorapin Phuaphansawat, who is assistant professor in political science at Chulalongkorn University. Her research interests include contemporary Thai politics, social movements, resistance, and the crisis of capitalism. She is the author of an article titled Anti-Royalism in Thailand Since 2006, Ideological Shifts and Resistance, and a book chapter titled Monarchy and Meta-Policies in Thailand, The Early Years of King Rama X's Reign. Also joining us is Puangchon Unchanam, who is an associate professor in political science at Naresuan University. His research interests include global capitalism, Marxist theory, and social inequality and class conflict in Thailand. He is the author of Royal Capitalism, Wealth, Class, and Monarchy in Thailand, published here by the University of Wisconsin Press. And so now let me hand the screen to the two of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tyrell, for the introduction, and thank you everybody for being here. My name is Khorapin Phuaphansawat from Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand, and we also have another presenter, Puangchon Unchanam from Naresuan University, Pisanulok, Thailand. So let me share the screen. The title of our research project is The Price of Freedom, Lèse-majesté, Prosecution, and the Politics of Bailing in Thailand. Today's presentation will briefly examine the politics of bailing in Thailand's recent lèse-majesté cases. It will demonstrate the new pattern in the Thai judicial system regarding bail granting for lèse-majesté defendants. Given up to 300 lèse-majesté cases right now, how many defendants that have been granted bail and how much did one have to pay to buy their freedom? Also, how much in total does the bail currently remain in the court system? Moreover, this presentation will argue that this bail granting phenomenon should be considered as a political tactic of the Thai authority, the Thai court, to maintain the kingdom's persecution against this royal subject. We will begin by going through the background of lèse-majesté persecutions in the past 2 decades, the emergence of the monarchy reform movement, and the significant increase of lèse-majesté cases. Next, we will dig deep into the new pattern of lèse-majesté bailing. Then Puangchon will talk about its political implication, how this bailing is rather a new form of suppression than a sign of human rights. Lastly, we will talk about the Rasadon Prasong Fund, which can be seen as a form of resistance from civil society against this bailing regime. It has been more than 2 decades that Thailand has been under political turmoil, coup d'etats, mass demonstrations, violent crashes, and legal persecution have plagued the kingdom. Above all, Thai monarchy and its royal power have been criticized and challenged. Therefore, more and more Thai citizens have been charged and imprisoned for defaming the monarchy. Before 2020, lèse-majesté was considered a grave crime of the kingdom. During red shirt, yellow shirt conflict, or even under military regime.
I'm sorry, Khorapin. Sorry to disrupt. I'm not sure
Yes.
my computer screen show your presentation properly or not, because it seems that it's still in the first place, the first page of presentation.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe you can check again. Yeah, okay.
Can everybody see the background? Okay.
Perfect.
Sorry for that. Okay, background. During red shirt, yellow shirt era and under military regime, the junta regime, several activists and internet users were subject to lèse-majesté charges and pre-trial detention. In other words, there have been a juridical norms of not granting bail to the lèse-majesté defendants. As a result, the Thai court has been condemned by domestic civil society and by international community. We saw a notorious case of, for example, Da Torpedo or Somyot Phruksha Kasem Suk or Ampon Tang Nopakun หรือ Agong or Agong who was charged for lèse-majesté and died in prison. This is the table. Oh, excuse me. Okay. This is the table showing an increasing number of people who has been charged with lèse-majesté law. The number continues to surge as political situation intensified. The first wave, as you can see, was the red shirt era. Then the second wave covers the aftermath of 2014 coup d'etat. This number, the source come from iLaw website, and iLaw website took the data from the Court of Justice again. The number before 2020 were indeed problematic. We expect the number to be much higher. And finally, in 2020, the pro-democracy mass movement have been mobilized nationwide and broke the taboo by criticizing the king, its royal power, and its royal wealth in explicit manners. Young protesters demand for the reform of the monarchy. As shown in the table, currently number of lèse-majesté cases have reached almost 300. This is the highest record in Thailand's modern history. With this unprecedented number of cases, how have the court handled the question of bail granting? Despite the growing number of lèse-majesté prisoners right now, which is alarming and should be a serious concern, the majority of lèse-majesté defendants has been granted bail, especially if their cases are still on trial, meaning that the case have not yet reached the verdict stage. How can we explain this recent development in Thailand's judicial system? Is the Thai court finally following the international standard regarding the right to bail? Therefore, our research project aims to explore this new pattern of lèse-majesté bailing and its political implication. The first features of new pattern is a cash bond. Previously, lèse-majesté activists sometimes resort other options such as surety bond using their title deed or employment position as guarantors. However, as cases continue to grow, the recent lèse-majesté defendants usually pay their price of freedom by cash. Let's take a look at the number. Our preliminary research finds out that lèse-majesté bail ranges from $2,400 to $8,000 90,000 ถึง 300,000 บาทนะคะ Most frequent amount is $4,000 150,000 บาท Moreover, the bail amount can become very high, up to 1 or 2 million baht, $54,000. This happened in two occasions. First, when a group of activists were charged for defaming the monarchy all at once. For example, in mid-2022, 6 female activists conduct a street poll asking people questions about the monarchy. This action cost them $5,400 each, so the total bail amount was $32,000. Another occasion is when we have an activist who was charged for many lèse-majesté cases. For example, in February 2022, Unchanam and Parit Chulalongkorn to monarchy reform activists. They were granted bail in total amount of $54,000, 2 ล้านบาท. Both of them are subject up to 12 cases of lèse-majesté prosecution at that time. In conclusion, now the amount of lèse-majesté bail remaining in the court system is about $703,000, 25 ล้านบาท. Some might say that in the end, this massive amount of money will eventually return back to the activists, to the movement, to those who pay the bail, because this is the bailing logic, right? However, not all of it. There have been some lèse-majesté defendants who missed the trial or left the country and seek asylum abroad. This means that their bail was withheld by the court. The money is not returning back. And so far, the court has withheld about $100,000, 4 ล้านบาท, from lèse-majesté bailing. And we expect the number to grow in the near future. We will move on to the next section, and Puangchon will be the presenter.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So let me share my computer screen first. So we can see from Khorapin's presentation that there has been a rising trend in the lèse-majesté prosecutions in Thailand. Namely, the court has granted bail to the majority of lèse-majesté defendants, and they can remain at liberty before the court issues a verdict. At first glance, this looked like a positive sign. It seems that the Thai court started to follow the international standards regarding human rights and the right to bail. Moreover, as many Thai conservatives often claim, it seems like the court has a change of heart and becomes more merciful to the disloyal dissidents. And so lèse-majesté defendants should be thankful and welcome this recent development. However, in contrast to that conservative account, our research considers the allowance of bailing as new political forms of suppression and domination. And here are 5 political implications that come with the recent development of the bailing system in Thailand. First, if we look at the process of bailing through the economic aspect, it is unaffordable for the majority of Thai people in the kingdom, where the minimum wage is $9 per day. Seeking $4,000 in a short period of time for securing bail is very difficult. Even worse, the majority of lèse-majesté defendants are high school and university students, and some are unemployed graduates. So the bailing amounts are out of reach for these precarious youth, and even if they can find the money and pay it to the court, letting the court keep their $4,000 for 1 or 2 years will not help their economic prospects. Actually, without the current condition of bailing, those high amounts of money could be used for their education or job training, and thus improving their economic and job prospects. The current conditions of bailing are problematic because they are what our research call double blackmails. On the one hand, it is a financial blackmail. If the defendants want their money back, they should well behave until the court issues a verdict. On the other hand, it is a political blackmail. From the court's perspectives, behaving well means that the defendants should no longer engage in any political activities. With these financial and political threats, the defendants are left with no choice but stopping their participation in any political associations, let alone the monarchy reform movement. This eventually leads to the weakening and decline of the monarchy reform movement recently. Bailing by using cash depoliticized the problems of lèse-majesté persecutions. It separates the defendants from their political movement. It isolates them from social support and camaraderie, and it treats them as neoliberal subjects who have to take care of themselves and navigate through the complex, bureaucratic, and depersonalized system of the court. As a result, instead of protesting in front of the court to put more pressure on the judges or mobilizing political support from civic associations, politicians, and the media, the crucial means to help lèse-majesté victims nowadays becomes more about securing the high amount of money as fast as they can. Instead of the mass of protesters, it is money that becomes a mediator between the powerful court and each isolated defendant. Last, the amount of money that the court sets for bailing are disproportional when they are compared with those that are required for bailing of other crimes. To be precise, the rate that lèse-majesté victims need to pay the court for their freedom are more than the amount that are used to bail the suspects in the cases of robbery, assault, and defamation. Notably, a range of $2,400 to $13,000 for bailing lèse-majesté defendants is comparable to the amounts that are used to bail the suspects in the cases of child sexual abuse, rape, and murder. In this regard, the court tries to send a strong message to the Thai population. Lèse-majesté is one of the most serious crimes in the kingdom, and those who commit that crime should be treated like major criminals. Even though the current bailing system is the new form of suppression and domination, our research also finds that there have been counter movements from civil society collectively mobilizing to resist the power of the court and the crown. Namely, some civil associations have actively fundraised for bailing lèse-majesté defendants. The most outstanding case is the Rasadon Prasong Fund. This is a non-profit organization that was formed after the 2014 coup, and it aimed to seek financial support for political activists and victims under the junta regime. After 2020, the Rasadon Prasong became one of the most important fundraisers to help lèse-majesté defendants who have cash for their bailing. As these charts reveal, the Rasadon Prasong has received strong support from civil society. Last year, almost every month, this organization receives millions of baht from many people. And at the end of the year, there were more than 8 million baht or $20,000 in its saving account. These amounts of money are more than enough for bailing the lèse-majesté defendants in many months to come. Even more impressive is that there have been more than 50 billion baht or $1.3 million held by the court as cash bonds, and these massive amounts of money were fundraised by the Rasadon Prasong. Notably, one half of those amounts were cash bonds for lèse-majesté defendants. Moreover, our research found that donating money to the Rasadon Prasong is an opportunity for donors to not only show their support to lèse-majesté victims, but also express their dissent voice.
Thank you so much for such an urgent and important presentation. While other folks are formulating their questions and putting them in the Q&A box, I have so many questions and mostly in a sense about the implications. I found your presentation so thought-provoking in terms of the way in which the bail process as a whole needs to be questioned. And I would say I definitely had most of my concern up until this point have been, what happens if there are so many cases that there are no more funds? And in fact, the questions, as you so eloquently point out, need to go much further to ask what are the implications of this kind of process where the urgency of needing more funds for bail, in a sense, potentially changes the shape of the movement by making one of the most important questions one of fundraising. And so I think, I guess, and I have one really practical question, which you may not sort of know the answer to, but what does the court do with the funds that they don't return? Do they ever make that, do they, for the $100,000 that they aren't returning, where does it go? Do they make that information? Do they make that information public? And then also just thinking about the ways in which this very process of bailing is so intertwined with neoliberalism and the creation of neoliberal subjects. What kind of challenge to the entire bailing process should be established? And actually thinking in the context of abolitionist movements in the US and the movement to end cash bail, do you see any possibility for that in the context of Thailand? Or
For the first question, that was the exact question I asked the Rasadon Prasong fundraising staff. Where did the money go? That massive amount of money. And Rasadon Prasong staff, which is Kun Aida Arunwong and Kun Pira, special thanks to two of them for many hard work and for participating in the interviews. Their answer is that they used to ask those questions to the court staff as well. And the basic answer, they said that it went back to the center. The money went back to ส่วนกลาง which we don't know what that means. Maybe the Ministry of Justice budget, or I don't know. Yeah, so that's the answer. That's the brief answer to the first question.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yes, for the second question, this is a very good question that you asked about neoliberal subjects and how we can resist more to the court and the state power. I think we have to go back to the past. In the past, sometimes politicians and university scholars use their own position as bail. But recently, it's become all about cash. So I think in the future, it would be great if politicians, scholars, or even ordinary people can use their own job or position as bail. But the big picture, if you look in the big picture, the problem right now is that early this year, the Constitutional Court gave a verdict to the Move Forward Party that their electoral campaign to reform the monarchy aimed to overthrow the crown. And back last year as well, the Constitutional Court gave a verdict that the leaders of political protest, they aim to overthrow the monarchy as well. So right now it seems like politicians, public figures, and scholars, they do not want to touch upon this issue. They do not want to have anything to do with this case. So now it's become only cash, and it becomes our really concerns because, like we said, cash is depersonalized, and it is all about how can we find money as soon as possible. So this is the way I respond to your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It makes me think of the Constitutional Court decision, where, as you point out, the Constitutional Court uses politicians from Gaokai who served as bail guarantors, as that action of serving as bail guarantors evidence of being involved in overthrow, which is so very strange. Great. So we've started to have questions come in. So the first to share is Thank you for this important presentation. I would like to hear more about the empirical support for the claim that bail has depoliticized the resistance by monetizing it at an individual level. As bail was instituted, do you in fact observe a shift in the resistance away from collective action towards individual fundraising? Or does individual fundraising potentially serve as a focal point that catalyzes opportunities for collective action?
I will be first who answer, and Puangchon can fill me up. The question is about the shift in the resistance away from collective action toward individual fundraising. Our answer is in the latest part of the presentation. The emergence of, at first, it was individual fundraising. And at that stage where any individual lèse-majesté defendant have to seek their own way to find cash, that high a number of cash to bail. That was the individual neoliberalized process. But when we have this Rasadon Prasong fundraising, this is collective action. And as you can see from the number, and Rasadon Prasong also use the platform, online platform, as the channel to fundraising, to mobilize people. This platform, this fundraising can be seen as contentious site. The bailing occur, take place as a contentious politics. Yeah, so this is the counter-back movement against this bailing regime. It is collective. It took in monetarized form as well. And of course, as Puangchon point out at the end of the presentation, there are limitations when we go too deep into this contentious bailing financialized politics, right? Because we only focus on money to speculating from both sides, from the court and also from the civil society. The focus is only on the number of bailing, who can pay more, right? And it can be depoliticized and downplay other aspects of the movement, politics of the street, right? Collective force, symbolic sign on the public space. This is all can be downplayed when we focus too much on fundraising, donating, money issue. Puangchon, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would like to add a little bit that for the empirical support for our project, actually we have a chance to go to the court and witness the court process. And we can see that in the past, there are so many people who come to support the defendants. But recently, it looks so sad because except the major figure in the protest movement, for ordinary people, there are few supporters who came to the court. So this is our experience, and we see that this is one of the empirical support that can use in our project. And for the resistance aspect, I think we can look in two ways. First, the Rasadon Prasong show the way of collective action, no doubt about it. And it is very important to support the defendants right now. But on the other hand, we do not want to romanticize the Rasadon Prasong so much. So actually, when we had a chance to interview the organizers of the Rasadon Prasong, at first, they seem to be content and happy that cash is good, easy come, easy go. You just use cash, because if you ask politicians or scholars for bailing, it's going to be a long process. But as we talk more and show our thoughts about the Rasadon Prasongs, they became more understanding that okay, in the long run, it might not be it may not be sustainable, and there should be more approach to resist the court and the crowd in Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just I really like your explanation for and the depoliticization that's taken place as part of the explanation for why the number of observers has declined so precipitously, you know, at the court, whereas, you know, previously there would be times when there were so many observers that the criminal court actually had to move a case into a bigger room, and yeah, it's shifted really dramatically. So I want to combine two of the other questions. So one is that, is there any discussion or movement to abolish cash bail in Thailand? And actually, I just want to throw in another note that one of the things that's happened, at least that's happened in Madison in the past 2 weeks with the protests against genocide in Gaza has been, and I suspect it's happened in other places too, has been precisely organizing around raising cash for bail, and actually sort of with the idea that even people who don't feel comfortable being part of the protests, that one way that you can contribute to the movement is by donating funds. And so this question of, is there any movement to abolish cash bail in Thailand? And then also two other questions of, is there any data on the social background of who is donating money to the bail funds? And are there any future reforms to the system of bailing that activists are currently proposing?
Okay. For the question regarding bail abolition movement, so far as we can observe, there is no abolition movement, bail abolition movement, because with the exacerbating situation, right, more and more people were rejected bail, and we have more Lèse-majesté prisoners in the past few months. Bailing is like the best way we can get from this worst situation, right? And especially when we have Ratsadon Pasong Fund, the defendant can expect that if they go to the court, even like pre-trial, during entering the beginning of trial stage, or after the verdict, what they most expect is they can get bail. They were granted bail because they have this collective funding support them. So this is the sad truth that the abolition demand or movement is too good to be true, because bailing is the best that we can get from this worst situation right now. Another question about the social background of the donor. This is the information that we get from the Ratsadon Pasong funding staff. Interestingly, most of the majority of the donation come domestically. So that means that the donor is the person who lives in Thailand, right? And the channel of donating is also interesting. The most popular channel for donating is via QR code or mobile banking, showing that most of the donors are media literacy. They have media literacy. They are know well how to use the internet platform. So from this social background information, we expect that most of the donors are youngster or middle age people living in Thailand.
I would like to add a little bit to what Khorapin just said regarding the question about the data of the donors Khorapin already mentioned that we have just only the amounts of money, but we can guess that some people, they are not really they are like lower middle class, because sometimes the money that they donate is just 112 or at best 24.75. But this amount, these numbers become very popular, so we can guess that maybe they do not have many money, but they want to show political solidarity. Regarding the question about abolishing the bailing system by using cash, or regarding the question about reform of the court, I think, unfortunately, right now, the political situation in Thailand is not really good in terms of the court. As I mentioned earlier, the verdict by the Constitutional Court set the tone that any reform regarding the monarchy is an attempt to overthrow the monarchy. So it seems like right now, people just become silent about the problematic bailing system in Thailand. So this is the way I approach the question. Thank you.
It's such a fascinating question to think about, just as a comparative piece of information to share in the US context, in a case that it's not like 112, although it's strange in its abuse of the law as 112 cases. In the protests, in the indictment of activists who were involved in the Stop Cop City protests in Atlanta, there are 61 activists, I think it's 61, maybe 67, 60-something activists who have been indicted on domestic terrorism and racketeering charges in the state of Georgia. And in the indictment is very, very strange. And one of the things that the prosecutor in Georgia is attempting to criminalize is donation. So a number of people in the Stop Cop City indictment, their crime that equals domestic terrorism or it's mostly people who've been indicted on racketeering, is their donation, including to bail funds and other, I mean, it's incredible. That's their crime is donation, which makes me think that it's hopeful that it has not yet become a crime to donate in support of bail funds in Thailand. And in the case of Stop Cop City, with that indictment, the activists and the folks working on the case think that ultimately the case will be thrown out. But of course, the indictment is just used, and forcing people to go through the judicial process is a form of incredible harassment and a huge sort of way of directing attention away from the actual police training center that's being built. But yeah, the indictment is sort of incredible. The next question to share is around potential alternative explanations for the drop in court supporters. Couldn't one be the sheer increase in the number of cases leading to fatigue? And couldn't the sheer number of cases also lead to the court turning to bail as a less intensive, more efficient way to process these cases?
The explanations for the drop in court supporters, right? This issue, I think we have already mentioned in our presentation, and I would like to stress and clarify. I think the whole juridical system, including bail, including trial, this can be seen as the depoliticization process. It's depoliticized, and the longer this trial take place, the more people get tired. And we have like 300 cases right now. Every week, if you want to show support to Lèse-majesté defendants, you have to go to the court almost every day, because the court will have a trial for giving testimony from defendant side, from the attorney side. It makes the whole process become very technical, very institutionalized, right? And bailing system also include in this process as well. And the more people get charges, get trial for Lèse-majesté, we expect the number of supporters to eventually drop because it takes too much energy and time just to participate and show support for the defendants. So that would be my brief answer.
I would like to add that yes, one of the major hypotheses for this project, it can be that the court try to compromise with the protester movement, try to compromise more with the youngster who want to reform the monarchy. But I would like to say that there have been so many activists who left the country and now they live in exile. And actually, recently, one of the major leaders of the movement, there is a rumor that he already left Thailand. So if we look at the bailing system and the court system, even though it looks like it is less intensive, it is more productive, non-violent, and it comes with the human face, we have to understand that in the big picture, the people are so afraid to enter the court. And even though cash is easier for using as bond, I think people still suffer from this system. And our project want to take a look and examine this aspect of the bailing system right now, even though going back to the comments, absolutely one of the hypothesis is that the court try to be more compromised and also the fatigue of the movement in general. But our main argument is still that it is the court system and the bailing system is very problematic and very political. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So another question is that, has there been any state response back to the funding organizers? And if so, how do they deal with state authorities or fight back against the state?
Thank you. Yes, during the peak time when the Ratchathon Prasong can successfully mobilize the donation, the right-wing conservative activists attack this Ratchathon Prasong fund, claiming that there are some powerful billionaires or politicians with radical ideology financially support this fundraising, right? So the way out, the way they respond back is they register as foundation legally, right? So now we can call it, they have like an official name, Muraniti Isara Foundation. And legally, when they are registered as foundation, they have to declare all of their donation, how much they receive monthly, annually. The transparency is very important, and this is their way out to clarify themselves, to show themselves that they are founded by the people and they are supported by the civil society, not any powerful people backing behind.
Thank you so much. Another question of that Ajahn Khorapin said that donations come from within Thailand, but given that internet banking can be done from anywhere now, do you have any indications of fundraising among the Thai communities abroad? Is fundraising also part of the political movement of Thai exiles?
This is the issue that I forget to ask the Ratchathon Prasong staff, because the chart that they show me, they have the comparison between the number of the donor abroad and the number of the donor domestically. I don't know how they what kind of data that they use to indicate abroad and domestic, but so yeah, that can be problematic when you say that internet banking can be done internationally, and most popular channel is internet banking. But to be clear, the internet banking here is of course I can expect that the banking is Thai bank, for example, SCB, Kasikorn, right? So the donor have bank account in Thailand, right? So this is the clear the most the clearest indicator, but I am sure that it can be problematic. And the fundraising from abroad, from asylum seeker, as far as we observe, it is not significant. It's more significant in Thailand domestically.
Yes, I would like to respond to the second question. Is fundraising also part of the political movement around the Thai exiles? The answer is yes. And I think the political movement leaders, they do not actually reject this idea. But like Khorapin just said, it is not really high amount of money. But so many conservative people in Thailand claim that, oh, you get a lot of money from abroad, especially from the Western country, especially the United States. So conservative people and the media sometimes use this claim that the movement has been supported by some ridiculous ideas such as American imperialism, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next question is, I wonder if there were a movement to abolish or reform bail in general, apart from Lèse-majesté cases, would it be popular among everyday Thai people or less affluent Thai people? Based on what you've said, would it be in conflict with Lèse-majesté defendants? Is there any solidarity among Lèse-majesté defendants and defendants of other crimes, as the incarceration rate in Thailand is so high? And this is related to economic inequality in Thailand.
Okay, you want to go first? Puangchon.
Yeah, now let me go first.
Okay.
I think this is a very good question, and it has become a dilemma among the leaders of the protest movement as well, that whether or not they should lower the bar. Do not really ask about reform of the monarchy, ask about general justice, help the poor people, reduce social inequality. And there has been huge debate in the movement before. But I think in the past, Thailand has so many mass movement, and normally it's going to be about democratic demand. But this time, is it the first time that the protest leaders touch upon the problems about the monarchy directly? So they believe that if we want to change the whole structure, we have to cut through the knot. We have to reform the monarchy. But the comments that we get is really good, that in the long run, whether or not it is very productive, and whether or not the protest leaders can get more support from the general audience. Because right now, as I present, the public support in Thailand today to the monarchy reform movement has declined, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I would like to add that if we read the letter from the prisoner, the Lèse-majesté prisoner, or the message that come out from the prison, they touch upon the issue that Vanessa, you just mentioned. They mentioned about the problem, the structural problem of Thailand incarceration, that only poor people go to jail. These political prisoner, they in prison, they went to jail and they have to encounter other prisoner who were charged and arrested and imprisoned for petty crimes, and most of them are poor people. And from the letter, from the message from this political prisoner, we can see the clear picture that this is the whole structural judicial system, that we only jail poor people because of this bailing system, because of the judicial system that only help and support the poor, get the poor out of jail, right? I also want to add that according to the interview with the Rasadon Pasong staff, they also had a chance to talk to some of the judge that have a chance to precise over the trial of Lèse-majesté, and some just see the problem as well. And he personally want to reform the bailing system, because the judge himself also see that this system is decided to disadvantages of the poor. But that this judge, he was removed eventually. Now, Rasadon Pasong staff, herself, she doesn't know where this judge go. So the people who work inside the court also see the problem, economic problem.
I would like to quickly add that when we talk about social or economic inequality in Thailand, we have to talk about the monarchy, because the Thai monarchy is one of the richest, if not the richest monarchies on earth. And the monarchy also created a strong and close partnership with business moguls. So I think the protest movement hit the right point, that if we want to change something, we have to talk about the monarchy. And also, if we talk about the juridical system, the monarchy is very influential over the court. And also in terms of politics, the Thai monarchy is a hegemonic institution that play a very important role over Thai politics. So to respond to this comment, I think if we look in the big picture, I think even though at first it looked like is this a mistake for the movement to push so hard about the monarchy, but I think in the long run and in the big picture, they are right that if we want to change Thailand radically, we have to talk about the monarchy.
Thank you so much. We will go to a question from Larry Ashman, who raised his hand. Larry, I have just made it possible for you to speak if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Sorry, Tyrell, I didn't mean to raise my hand, but I do want to thank both Ajahn Khorapin and Puangchon for a very interesting presentation. My question as a librarian, if it is a question, is how do I get the documents to put into the library? Because I want to have this material archived, right? So maybe we can communicate. I can work with Tyrell on that, because it's nice to know documents may be available online, but for the posterity, for the future, we need to archive them physically too, so that people can access them, years from now, not just rely on them being available now, right? So that would be my concern more than a question. Thank you.
we can talk about it, Larry, and figure out a good strategy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so our main source, we have two main sources, and you can publicly access to this source. First is the website of Thai Lawyers for Human Rights. They did excellent job in recording every lèse-majesté cases currently right now, and in every stage it can be painful when you look through the whole process of the juridical system, but you can see how much this case, how much this lèse-majesté defendant have been paid as cash bond. It's as detailed as that. So this comes from Thai Lawyers for Human Rights. They offer excellent and helpful data for us. And of course, another main source is from Rasadon Prasong Fund. They have their own website. They have their Facebook account. And they're gonna publish an annual report. I think they already did. I'm not sure if it's a full report or not, but you can find a lot of detail, especially about donation, about how much money that have been remaining, coming in, coming out. They offer you in detail. So these are two main sources for data.
Thank you so much. I want to sort of make a last call for questions. If anybody has questions, particularly if you haven't asked a question, please feel free to put it in the Q&A, and then we'll conclude. One question that remains is, what sorts of harassment has the Rasadon Prasong Fund and staff been subjected to? If you have any information to share. If not, that's also okay.
Actually, we haven't found any harassment yet regarding the Rasadon Prasong, but we would like to share our experience when we have an interview with the organizers of the Rasadon Prasong. Even though there is no harassment toward them, it seems like they become really depressed and stressful because of the political situation in Thailand right now. So I think this is our concerns, because it seems like right now there is no support to the monarchy reform in general. So in terms of psychological aspect, I think this is the aspect that we are really concerned. Maybe Khorapin can add more.
Yeah, so there is no physical violent attack against this organization, unlike other radical monarchy reform movement or activists that were the main target of right-wing movement, royalist, ultra-royalist movement. But Rasadon Prasong Fund, we can say that they are not the main target for the right-wing movement. But as Puangchon said, the obstacle, the limitation is come from inside. It is the depressing trend right now about increasing number of cases, and how they have to systematize, have to institutionalize the procedure, how they gonna work, and they have done quite wonderfully. Now they have Google Form. They create like an online platform for the victims to fill out, for the lawyers to fill out, so they know that who to give bail money, right? And when the money come back, they have to ask these people to return the bail money, right? So the system have to be organized perfectly, right? To keep the money of the people secure. So this is their hard work, and they have done quite excellent job so far, and they still have a lot of hard work waiting ahead.
This seems like a perfect note on which to conclude. And so I just wanted to make a couple comments. One, to thank Adan Puangchon and Adan Khorapin for their really important work and fantastic presentation, and to thank the other 4 scholars who've shared their work over the past 2 days. And to also say to everyone here, we will be the Article 112 project will be continuing working next year as well. We were just refunded by the Anonymous Fund here at UW, so we haven't decided what we'll do next year. But I think one thing that the past 3 days of talks has really driven home is that both the need for increased intellectual and academic exchange around Article 112, and I think actually particularly with highlighting the difficulties that activists and other folks are facing now after 10+ years, really 20 years of struggling, that there's a need for ongoing research and collaboration and solidarity. And so we'll be thinking about the best ways in which to support that. So thank you both so much. Thank you to everyone for your fantastic questions and comments. And stay safe. If you're in Southeast Asia, stay cool with the incredible heat, both politically and actually from the air as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank